With your no good and Camp, we're listening to the And Campaign's Church Politics Podcast with Justin Giboney, a.k.a. Bishop Cooper's grandson. But let me tell you, we have a sort of reunion of sorts at hand, all right? These two guys that I'm sitting with, I didn't tell y'all about this. I want you to be surprised. You are very familiar with. One of them is actually the person who created the name Church Politics Podcast, the first co-host on the Church Politics Podcast. We're actually here at the Center for Christianity and Public Life. They're having an event. I just got a chance to speak at it. And you have with me here today, Mr. Michael Ware. Michael, what's going on, man?
It's great to be back. I'm happy to be here and happy to. I mean, you didn't just speak. You set us off right. You brought the house down, and we got to hear a preview of your forthcoming book that everyone's so excited to get their hands on.
Man, thank you so much for the opportunity. It was great. I'm so excited for this conversation because it's been a minute since we've been together. Maybe it's like 2021, 2020,
yes.
something like that. Yep. The other guy,
yes,
is the Chicago representative, the baddest brother above the Mason-Dixon line, Right Reverend Christopher Butler. What's going on, man?
Oh, everything.
Welcome back.
Very, very glad to be back. This is beautiful.
I came here just to hear your intro from Justin. I'm good now.
We're ready to go.
Welcome back, guys. I'm glad to have you on here. We don't have a whole lot of time, so we're going to get to it, all right? Yeah. Something that's really been on my heart. I mean, seriously, the Bible talks a lot about scoffers, how we shouldn't be around scoffers. These are not people that we should certainly be being discipled by. Yep. I feel like, especially after Charlie Kirk's assassination, that a lot of Christians are really being discipled by scoffers. Another term I would use for them is conflict entrepreneurs. Yeah. I see these as people who don't want healing, don't want us to come together. They're the folks who are always sending us the worst representatives on the other side, always bringing criticism, never being objective, and really are more so about a certain narrative than the truth. Yeah. I just want to hear if you guys are feeling the same way, because this has been on my heart. I mean, this is the type of thing that's kept me up at night, to say, even from pulpits, I'm seeing people following behind these conflict entrepreneurs, these scoffers. Michael, give me your thoughts. Are you seeing this, and how do we get away from it?
I'm seeing this, and I am seeing a whole lot of evasion and just this inability to say anything clear in response to what was a tragedy that didn't come out of nowhere.
Right.
Like that, there's just a responsibility that I think we're not taking. It's been interesting to hear folks really try and dice things up so finely, and I understand the impulse to say, we need to condemn political violence and make clear that speech is not violence. I get that. I get that as like a lowest common denominator. For Christians, we have to understand that the nature of hatred, the nature of anger is such that it contributes to sort of permissibility, and I'd say like even in some ways a kind of inevitability structure. Yeah. And so like the thing that was striking to me is when people were surprised that some people were expressing online pleasure that the assassination happened. Yeah. And it's not surprising. People had been cultivating hatred in their hearts for Charlie Kirk long up to that moment. Now, what was interesting is how surprised they were by their own reaction.
Right.
But Jesus has so much to say about that. Mm-hmm. It's why he says that I tell you, even if you harbor anger in your heart for your brother, yes, everyone says don't murder, but if you harbor anger in your heart, okay, that says something about the nature of anger.
That's right. Yeah. And let's be honest, a lot of the people who were so celebrating and so upset that didn't even really know who he was until it happened, but somehow this has had such an impact. And it's a big moment, but there was a lot, I don't know, there's just a lot going on there. One of the things,
to your point, they just looked up, or they were sent to their feeds just like the most outrageous, the most incendiary clips, and so they felt like even if they didn't know him before, they felt like, I know who he is now.
Yeah. These algorithms are embittering us and giving us a malicious spirit, and we don't even see it. I mean, there's some people who I felt our mature Christians who I had to remind, you can't hold people in contempt.
Yeah.
You can't hold anybody in contempt, especially another brother or sister. And you certainly can't say somebody from another party doesn't have their salvation. I mean, we had all kind of viral clips of just crazy stuff. Chris, what are your thoughts on these conflict entrepreneurs and how to deal with this situation?
I think you said like the church has been discipled by conflict entrepreneurs. And I think that is maybe the most alarming thing for me. Like Ephesians tells us, like the purpose of the church leadership is to make sure that we're not blown to and fro by every piece of cunning and wind of doctrine. And the algorithm is maybe like the best model of this. But there are people who are not after healing in our politics, and I think maybe not even after winning, right? Because the perpetual conflict is what creates the viral clip. It's what gets the followers. It's what makes the money, and so we as church leaders have to be much more discerning about who we are listening to, who we are sort of parroting in the church. Like we've talked about this a lot. Just like you listen to a preacher and it's like, I know I just heard that on MSNBC,
right?
And you're literally just repeating it. And so I just think we have to be much more discerning and understand that there is an entire sort of industry, whether they identify coalesced as an industry at this moment or not. It is an entire industry that is the vested interest is to perpetuate the conflict, the vitriol, not interested in resolution. In my view, not interested in resolution one way or the other, right? They're not concerned about healing, not concerned about winning, just want to see the fight because that's where they make their money.
Yeah, and look, none of us three are perfect when it comes to this. We probably all have our feelings too and haven't gotten it perfectly right. But I have been worried about friends who almost every post are talking about how stupid people are who didn't vote for Trump, or talking about white evangelicals and how bad white evangelicals are every post.
Yeah.
I'm like, I really hope your heart, like on your time when you're just alone, you're not just thinking about that as much as you're posting it.
Yes.
That's not healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it just bothers me. But help me, guys. Help me find a way out of this, Michael. Like, what do we tell our friends who are in those positions? Which we're not saying you don't have a right to be upset.
Right. Yeah, of course.
But the Bible tells us not to sin in our anger.
Yeah. I mean, part of it is disinvesting from this culture of antagonism. Like part of it is there's a term in political science, a political hobbyist. And what I find so striking is like the folks who are caught in these cycles of thought so often, and there are exceptions, and again, so often they're not putting as much energy into doing something about the thing as they are about complaining about it or critiquing it.
That's right.
And so this is one of the things we get like backwards. We think that the person who is doing the most political work is the most like bound up in how right they are and self-righteous. And no, it's often, like my experience has been, the people who are actually doing the work, they're the ones who understand all the contours. They're the ones who understand the weaknesses in their own side. It's the people who like launch comments and critiques and watch from the sidelines, thinking they know what the players on the field feel like, who have these sort of totally strident opinions and are willing to lob bombs from the side. And so we need to, like, if you find yourself thinking more than doing, like, how about you say, I'm not going to post about this issue for a week, but I am going to find an opportunity in my community to actually do something about it, and then I'll come back and maybe I'll have something worthwhile to share.
I've been sharing with friends, and I'd love for Chris to follow up on this. That's a good point. This is a moment for an affirmative agenda.
Yeah.
Yes.
It doesn't mean there can't be any protests. It doesn't mean there can't be any boycotts. We Christians, regardless of what side you find yourself on, there's so much going wrong. We need an affirmative agenda. Can you
What do
speak
you
to
want
that,
to
Chris?
do?
What are you going to do? What are you going to fix?
And it starts, in my view, in creating space, like spiritual space. Like you talked about, Justin, like are people contemplating this stuff as much as they're posting about it? And when I ask myself that question, there are two really problematic realities that could emerge from that. Number one, either you are doing that, right? Like you're just sitting around stewing about it in your personal time, or you're not doing that in your personal time, but you're not letting whatever you are doing in your personal time inform what you do in your sort of public engagement, whether it's speaking or doing. And so I've really gotten to like encouraging people to almost be like what I call like conscientious objectors to the culture war. Right? Like just it does not produce the righteousness of God, right? That's like good. The anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. That's good. So how can we put ourselves in a place where we can actually withdraw from the conversation for enough time to receive something prophetic, imaginative, creative that we can actually do, and then we go try to do that thing. And I think that's how we get to a more productive public life, because we are in a spot where old models, old paradigms are probably not going to work.
They're not working.
But we don't serve a God whose creativity has been exhausted.
Yes.
I think we have become a people who are not exercised enough in like placing ourselves before God for long enough for him to say something. And once he says something, yes, get up and do the thing. But don't just keep talking, arguing, fighting, and it's unproductive.
No, that's good. And before I switch the conversation a little bit, I want to give everybody, if you don't mind, some homework. I want you to sit down, and I want you to think about the conflict entrepreneurs that you follow on social media. And once you identify those conflict entrepreneurs, I want you to promise yourself that you're not sharing them with anybody else. You may have to unfollow, but if you're not strong enough to unfollow right now, or not willing,
just don't share.
Just don't share them. Like I have a problem with especially leaders sharing the most vitriolic representatives from the other side. You don't need to share Nick Fuentes as a leader with your people who are going to think, oh, so every young white boy thinks like this. No, they don't.
Yeah.
Are there some? Yes. But you don't need to be sharing it like that's the representative of a whole group of people. We need to be a little more thoughtful, okay? Yeah. Now, shifting gears a little bit, we're going to get a little more political right now. I tend to think that the Democratic Party, and we're going to talk about the Republicans next, is going through an identity crisis. I think this last election showed, although it's almost a progressive article of faith that people, once they become more educated and experienced, move towards progressivism in all these ways, that was kind of shot down. So now they're looking to say, especially on some of these far leftward social issues, some people are saying we might need to reconsider. Rahm Emanuel has come out, and that's the basis of what he's doing. So anyway, during this crucial period, what I've been telling, especially the black church and other concerned churches, if you just sit here and just talk about Trump and don't weigh in to this identity crisis to try to shape what this party is going to be, you're missing a huge opportunity to save this party from itself. Can you guys talk to me about how the church can weigh in on this identity crisis?
Yeah, I mean, it's I have very bad timing, right? Like I ran for Congress in 2022 as a pro-life Democrat, and that was a non-starter in a Democratic primary. Folks walked away from the campaign, people who were going to raise money, all those types of things, and now you have prominent Democrats. Saying like maybe we need to make room for pro-life Democrats inside of our party.
So you're a martyr, man.
And it's just an early adopter. But the reality is these conversations are happening. The Church of God in Christ never, in any technical or formal capacity, moved off of its pro-life position. And so you could argue is way more exercised in talking about these things. And you do have a party that is trying to figure out how do we do this well. And I just think that especially black Christians, but I think the church writ large, it's like we've been kind of contemplating these things and working on these things for hundreds and in some ways thousands of years. And if we just set that aside and let, the people who are in the White House, and no shade on the White House, we love the White House, but let the people.
So wait,
who are
you're
like
a Trump supporter? Is that what it, or did you just come out as
the
mad?
house?
I'm messing with you. Go ahead.
But you have to be confident, I think,
Yes.
in the capacity, the moral imagination, the institutional capacity, how do you have these kind of nuanced conversations? The church has been, in a lot of ways, doing this for a really long time. And one of the things that I see right now, and especially for those who are engaged and have been engaged in the Democratic Party, is maybe a tendency to sit back and let other people lead the conversation, which sort of indicates to me a real lack of confidence in a kind of historical expertise that I think we need to flaunt it a little bit, like use it, not in any arrogant way, but we've been trying to have these conversations, and we can lean on some of that historical and institutional knowledge and capacity.
That's good. Michael, speaking to this identity crisis.
Yeah, I mean, just to build on that, part of the historical lesson here is like, we just can't be so easily placated. We can't be so eager for nice words. Mm-hmm. Or just the slightest expressions of openness that we don't realize that we have every right to be in a negotiation here.
Right, that's good.
And so, like we've done this before. In the DNC platform in 2000, it explicitly said that pro-lifers should have access to every level of the party platform. In 2008, there was a call for openness to policies that would reduce abortion. One of the impulses for both Republicans and Democrats, but I'll say, like, maybe it's just what I've seen most closely is they want a big tent when they've suffered some losses, but as soon as they get back into power, they feel like, well, now we're on the right, like history is moving inevitably, and so now is the time for consolidation. Now is the time to, and we don't just need rhetoric. It's is there going to be policy change? And we're hearing these debates live, which is, well, if we just maybe don't talk about these issues so much. So there's this idea, this sort of majoritarian, like only talk about policies where Democrats have the majority of support. Mm-hmm. But then when you get into office, you could act on the whole agenda. Right. Well, we can't allow that. We can't allow party folks to dictate the democratic deliberation. But it's going to take the church, and it's going to take a whole bunch of folks that are willing to force those conversations and not be so easily pleased.
Yeah, and that's why it can't just be about what side we're on. We have
Right.
to say, for the entire landscape, for the church in general, we can't just. I just have really been pushing it back against this sole focus on Trump. Now, give me.
You're right.
There's things to be concerned about. There's things
Yes.
to confront for sure. But if you're only focused on that, you're missing out on a lot of the realignments and all that stuff going on. My big question, though, is the Democratic Party on these big issues willing to change when a lot of that stuff comes from the donors? Mm-hmm. And for the donor class, a lot of that far, far left stuff seems to be an article of faith. That's the big question for me. Yeah. But let's go to the other side, too, unless you guys have something on that.
I'd just say what can be so helpful is to encourage and incentivize those people who are willing to, even if it's not perfect, are willing to express some kind of independent thought, some kind of movement. What so often happens is that people step out, they test ideas, but they get no support, and they get absolutely barraged by the establishment. Right. And so that teaches a lesson not just to them, but teaches a lesson to everyone else who could step forward that, well, if I do this, to a certain extent, something I say is like, political courage is good once. Requiring political courage time and time again, that's unemployment. like we need to actually be supporting those who are politically courageous so that they could keep on being politically courageous.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
So here's the next. Let's go to the other side. For the Republicans, what do you think the Republican Party looks like post-Trump? And how should Christians speak into that, right? Whether it's Marco Rubio, whether it's J.D. Vance, Christians are going to have a say in how this goes. None of those guys are Trump, right? You can say they're better, they're worse, whatever. They're not Trump. There's an opportunity maybe to shape some of these things. Michael, talk to me about if, for Republican Christians who want to save this party from itself, just like the other side, how can they speak into that?
Yeah. So I should say, I want two strong political parties.
Amen.
I want a healthy Republican Party. I want a healthy Democratic Party. And I think even with the 2020 or 2024 primary on the Republican side, I think we saw that Trump is a pretty singular figure. And I think we're going to see a period where folks try to appropriate sort of his style, and maybe someone will find a way to make it work. I think what's more likely is there will be a candidate who, maybe it's Vance, maybe it's Rubio, maybe it's someone else who's able to take little gestures towards a Trumpian style. But I think we found other people can't really do it like him.
That's right.
So I think that there will be an opportunity for a kind of reset. I mean, one of the interesting things that I've seen is even there's a juxtaposition now that I think is serving Republicans pretty well politically speaking between Senate Majority Leader John Thune and the Trump White House. Now, I think we could question the integrity of the extent to which, in my view, Senate Republicans have sort of ceded some of their decision-making power to the White House, but the balance that they have in terms of their, that's really interesting, and it'll be interesting with Trump leaving the White House. Is there a different kind of at least affect that the Republican Party takes on? I'll just say quickly, the other, Trump is such a, it's easier to hold together divisions within a political party when you're in the White House. But Trump is covering up a whole range of big tech, on family-friendly policy, on a whole range of issues. Trump is covering up a whole lot of intra-party squabbling that once he's gone, they're going to have to choose a direction. They're going to have to choose: are we supporting the unregulated explosion of AI? Are we ignoring issues like online sports gambling? Do we support more government support for families, or are we small government and anti-social safety net? Trump is covering up a lot of that stuff, but it's all still there in the party. And in some ways, it's gotten worse because Trump, in terms of the fissures in the party, because Trump has brought in new voters that disagree with Republican orthodoxy on some of those.
And there's a number of fault lines, and he's kind of covering those fault lines. He's kind of doing that for Democrats in some ways, too. He's a unifying force for them, and they may have some stuff they need to deal with. Chris, I can tell that some of my Republican, more establishment friends are hoping that when Trump is gone, the establishment rises again. Now, stylistically, I can understand that. Policy-wise, in as much as Trump has really been populist at all, but who do you see coming? Do you think the establishment can rise again? I mean, they still have most of the Senate and the House. I mean, do they come back up? But they don't have the people. They don't have the base. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't want to be super partisan, but I don't think it's a secret that most of my political work has been in Democratic politics, and so I would say never underestimate the power of the establishment. When you have a lot of control over the sort of levers of and institutional mechanisms. There's a lot of power there. And I think the only way that doesn't happen is actually if you set a moral direction, right? Like I think that this sort of concept of populism, where it's like we just get all the people with us and then we'll be able to overthrow the establishment. I think the real thing when we even look across history, like the thing that really is that magnet that begins to pull a critical mass of people in the same direction is actually moral direction, and not this kind of like hyper-individualized selfishness, right, in our politics, but some kind of moral direction that says this direction is right because it is right. The blessing of righteousness is that it does produce good, right, in the society. But when you reduce like all of the fruit of goodness to like I got to get mine, I don't think that produces a productive political coalition. And so I think on both sides of the aisle. But I think it might be particularly salient for folks who are thinking about a Republican Party post-Trump. It's like, what is the actual moral, values-oriented direction that we are going to go in? Because if you don't get masses of people, or at least a critical mass, I would say, a critical mass of people flowing in the right direction, absolutely the establishment is going to rise again. And I think the way you do that is not with this kind of loosely defined populism, but with an actual moral direction, some kind of clear values orientation that starts to move people in a direction.
So you saying they would have to do more than just tax cuts if they're really going to shut people up? All right, that's another subject. We'll start bringing this to a close. And this kind of goes with the first topic. What I see in the public square between Christians is utter contempt. Especially again after this assassination. I see Christian national. I actually see people who are like, Christian nationalism is not really a thing, guys. Shut up. Now, like, I'm a Christian nationalist. What's wrong with that? So you have this strong Christian nationalism coming up. Anybody who's not with it is on the outs. They're fake. They're not really Christian. They're all that. And then honestly, even closer to home, I see this identitarianism that is incurious, that has a tortured narrative that is not even close to where reality is, and just wants to demonize white evangelicals. Like you see both, you see this so heavily, and I see so many people close to me feeding into it. Can you guys give the people, the audience, a reason not to give up on Christians who are on the other side?
So the first thing that I would point out that is easy to ignore, is convenient to ignore, is the close relationship between the two things that you identified, nationalism and that kind of like identitarianism. Right? Like there's actually like a very close relationship that says like it's only the people who are like me who matter, who have any kind of like hope or possibility for producing the good life, right? And so when you find yourself in one of these spaces where it's all about black people, right? Like there is a close ideological relationship between that and nationalism, and it is anti-kingdom, right? The kingdom of God is big enough to embrace and to hold difference, and at least for Christians, we have this kingdom vision that we can lean into to say that there is a God that transcends our political divides. And this is not to reduce political divides and political disagreement to nothing. These things, how we do tax policy and social safety net, this stuff matters so much, but it does not transcend the vision of the kingdom of God. And so I think if we can, as Christians, if we can bring ourselves first to that place of trying to take a kingdom view, we can begin to retrain ourselves for politics that makes room for people who disagree with us. Now, there got to be some boundaries. Michael said it earlier. Like you want healthy, productive conversations on both sides, but we don't have to all agree on political questions.
So are you saying that there's a chance that if and when we get to heaven, there might be Christians who voted for Trump and Christians who don't support Christian nationalism in heaven?
Imagine that. Imagine.
Yeah.
Because I've heard some sermons where it seemed like that might not be the
right.
case.
Right. No,
Yeah.
exactly right. I think we need to be careful about, I won't even, it is wrong to cast the same judgment that I think can be rightly made about the conflict entrepreneurs onto everyone who listens to or is influenced by them. We just have to understand, for those of us who are in politics, I'd even say like folks who are listening to this podcast, folks who are engaging with the work that any of us are doing, we're thinking about politics so much more and have worked through issues and are talking about it, and there's a refinement. Yeah. When I hear about people casting judgment on just people down the pew from them or folks in their families as if they are, they'll say, this person made this policy possible. Well, if you're talking about Senator so-and-so, then I could hear that. If you're talking about your uncle, who you don't even know got up and voted in the last election, and even if they did, they were one out of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of, maybe we just need to, so right now, our politics, people are going to politics for a place of expression, a place of belonging, a place of community. And there are some positive ways that expresses itself, but there are a lot of ways that people are getting their spiritual needs met through politics that politics is not fit to meet. And so we need to just be, we have a responsibility to make sure we're not going to politics to get our spiritual needs met. We also need to have a lot of grace for folks who aren't knocking on doors, who aren't political operators. Like, you can be wrong about politics and not be unfaithful. Like, you can just be wrong.
That's good, man. Christians, you cannot hold other Christians or anybody in contempt.
Yeah.
Do not give up on each other.
Yeah.
The conflict entrepreneurs, the scoffers, want you to give up and say that the other side is irredeemable.
Right.
The Bible does not allow you to do that.
So good.
And that's what I want to leave you guys with. Brothers, it is a blessing to be able to sit down again. We're going to have to do this a little more often, man. But you guys have contributed so much to the Church Politics Podcast, to the AND campaign. Blessing to have you. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
AND Camp, there's a cross that neither political conservatism or progressivism is fit to bear. There's a civic hearing in need of faithful witnesses who love social justice and won't surrender the truth to be loved by the world. Politic with the boldness of Jesus Christ. Until next time, AND Camp. We'll holla at you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.